Most workplace culture is built on a simple promise. If you outwork your peers and display undeniable talent, your superiors will reward you with power. We assume that flawless execution is the most reliable path to a promotion. In 1661, Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister to King Louis XIV, attempted to use this logic to secure the role of prime minister. Fouquet was clever, indispensable, and lived an extravagant lifestyle that he believed proved his fitness for higher office. To clinch his appointment, he threw the most spectacular party the world had ever seen at his new estate, Val-le-Vicomte. He served 7 courses of rare Oriental foods, commissioned original music to honor the king, and staged a play by Molière. He intended the evening to be a massive tribute to his master's greatness. The event was a triumph of networking and taste. Yet the following day, the king had Fouquet arrested. By executing the perfect display of competence, the minister had inadvertently ended his career. Fouquet viewed the party as a demonstration of loyalty. King Louis XIV, however, saw a threat to his own prominence. The guests were more charmed by the finance minister than the monarch. By appearing more brilliant than the king, Fouquet had offended the sovereign's vanity. Louis found a convenient excuse to rid himself of a man who made him feel insecure. Fouquet was tried for stealing from the treasury and sent to a prison in the Pyrenees Mountains. He spent the final 20 years of his life in solitary confinement. The king then hired Fouquet's own architects and designers to build the Palace of Versailles. Using the money liberated from the treasury, Louis hosted parties even more extravagant than the one that cost Fouquet his freedom, ensuring the king remained the center of all attention. Proving your value to an insecure superior is often a career-ending mistake rather than a catalyst for growth. Within any hierarchy, a leader's security relies on maintaining an intellectual or social edge over subordinates. This balance allows the master to feel comfortable. When a subordinate displays superior talent, that balance shifts. The master's security is replaced by fear and resentment. This reaction can be triggered by natural talent alone. In 1500, Cesare Borgia occupied Faenza and spared its popular young prince, Astore Manfredi. However, Manfredi's natural charisma and presence made the vain Borgia appear less attractive to his subjects. A year later, Manfredi's body was fished out of the river Tiber with a stone around his neck. Showboating is not a requirement for disaster. Simply existing as a highly competent or charming person can be a passive threat to a leader who lacks confidence. A common pitfall occurs when an employee becomes a favorite. This proximity leads to the assumption that they are exempt from the rules of the ego and can treat the boss as an equal. In 16th century Japan, Sen no Rikyu was the premier artist of the tea ceremony and a trusted advisor to Emperor Hideyoshi. He held a privileged position within the palace and was honored throughout the country. Rikyu's status ended when he commissioned a wooden statue of himself wearing the sandals of nobility and placed it inside the royal temple. It stood in clear sight of the royalty who passed by every day. To the emperor, the statue signified that Rikyu had lost his sense of limits. It appeared as though Rikyu believed his status was earned through his own merit, rather than granted by the crown. Hideyoshi ordered him to take his own life. Taking your standing for granted or presuming equality with a superior can instantly dissolve the protection of their favor. Navigating this paradox requires redirecting credit. In the early 1600s, Galileo Galilei struggled with his dependence on patrons to fund his research. Presenting his intellectual discoveries directly often made his donors feel like mere sources of cash rather than creative participants. When Galileo discovered the moons of Jupiter, he changed his approach. Instead, he used the discovery to inflate the glory of the Medici family. He claimed the 4 newly discovered moons mirrored the 4 Medici brothers, all revolving around their dynasty's founder, just as the stars orbited Jupiter. By aligning his master with the heavens, Galileo ensured the discovery enhanced the Medici's brilliance rather than his own. The strategy worked. In 1610, Galileo was appointed the official court philosopher with a full salary. He transitioned from a life of begging for patronage to a secure, funded position. Galileo succeeded because he did not challenge his master's intellect, he weaponized it. He ensured the master outshone the universe, which made Galileo's own presence a source of pride rather than insecurity. Survival in high-stakes environments requires the strategic concealment of your full capabilities. Maintaining your position depends on making those above you feel comfortably superior. This involves practical choices, ascribing your most creative ideas to your boss's prior guidance, asking for their expertise on minor mistakes, and toning down your own humor or charisma to avoid blocking their radiance. Downplaying your own brilliance provides leverage. You are managing the superior's emotional state, ensuring their insecurity never triggers a reaction that could harm your standing. By heightening the master's intensity, you remain in control of your own trajectory. You avoid the fate of those whose talents inadvertently provoke their own downfall.